Ciao, hi, hey, hola guys. Just going to check I'm live on YouTube as well. Yep. Ciao, hi, hey, hola guys. It's your boy M.K.S here, back with another video. Well, finally, and welcome to part 2. It's already 11:30 here, and I wanted to start this like at least at the latest at 8 o'clock, but way behind schedule as per usual. Like, almost 3.5 hours later. Anyway, as I say, it's your boy M.K.S here, back with another video. Welcome to the second part of my plans for empowering the black diaspora, the black diaspora all around the world, obviously, especially in America. I'm not wearing my glasses for this one because my glasses were starting to irritate me a bit, so I decided to take them off. I really find them uncomfortable around my ears. I don't know why. I think I'm just easily irritable. Could be an autistic thing, you never know, I guess. But anyway, here goes. These are pointers number 11 to 20. I hope you enjoy them. I was trying to Google like words that begin with F to give me some inspiration, but since I did that, I've forgotten, and I wanted to think through my plans for tomorrow. So I hope I get the energy tomorrow to go through my plans. I hope to go. One of the biggest things I hope to do tomorrow is, as well as go through my paperwork and stuff, I hope to go on my YouTube and look through all the videos that I haven't got around to finishing. So unfinished business, as it's the 21st tomorrow. So to try and think of videos I didn't get around to doing, and then reset my inks, so to speak, i.e. replan like what I'm going to do for the rest of the month, hopefully. Anyway, nice lines, but I've been trying to avoid distractions. But here goes anyway. So number 11, I normally think of change, as I normally say for point number 11. So I was thinking of like how, I know I mentioned in part 1 and point number 4 about Forbes and Fortune magazine and that kind of thing, and Fortune 500 lists. And I was thinking, how could we get more, how could allies like myself and the black community itself support its own community, and potential investors, sponsors, organisations, associations and supporters generally support more black-owned businesses, and even support more black people to get involved in Fortune 500 companies. Now, I don't really believe in forcing that. I think it should be something that's encouraged. So I don't think it should be a law like DEI or anything like that. I think it should be something that companies are encouraged to do of their own free will, of their own back. As a libertarian, I want to give people choices and companies choices as well, the owners of companies choices. So I think it'll be interesting for people to discuss, and I hope people will get involved in this comments, either on Facebook or YouTube, or preferably both, and hopefully be encouraged to discuss with each other, those who wish to support the black community, either because they're from the black community themselves, or as allies or want to be allies like myself. So yeah, how can we get more black-owned businesses into, how can we get more black people into business generally, and how can we get more black people into like Fortune 500 companies as CEOs and that kind of thing. I hope to support as many black entrepreneurs as possible, including like female entrepreneurs of all ages, and that kind of thing, and black entrepreneurs more generally, so black people get into business and control their finances, get into investing and things like that. But yeah, I wonder what Fortune 500 companies, if they wanted to do, what could they do to help more black people, and maybe how they could be encouraged to do so. And I also thought of like rich lists for I'll say point number 12. So moving on to point number 12. I say I hope to help more black people to become entrepreneurs, CEOs, chief executive officers, chief financial officers, CFOs, MDs, managing directors, chairmen, chairwomen, support more female entrepreneurs of all ages, and that kind of thing, from the black community in America and around the world, and seeing how they can network together around the world, and maybe even like support each other's supply chains. Supply chains. One thing I talked about is like how a black-owned restaurant could use black suppliers to provide their food and beverages and that kind of thing. Black-owned cafes could do the same, black-owned bars and whatnot, so they could trade with each other, buy from each other, and invest in each other and that kind of thing. I suppose a few black-owned banks and investors and whatnot financiers could support each other and support their own community, whether that's in the film industry or finances generally, entrepreneurship, or all sorts of different industries. And again, networking together, trading together, sharing advice and ideas, buying from each other, sharing ideas and advice with each other, buying from each other, and things like that. And yeah, I wonder if there are ways to get more black people into Fortune 500 companies and that kind of thing. And I was thinking Forbes and Fortune magazine and whatnot could have lists of the top 1,000 and all the way down to 700, 600, 500, 400, 300, 200, even 100 wealthiest black people in America, and they can do similar for Africa and around the world. I know that thing probably already exists, but I think it'd be interesting to see, as they list of the top 500 black-owned businesses in the world, top wealthiest black people in the world, like top 500 or whatever. I think they say there's 23 black billionaires in the world officially. But yeah, moving on to number 13, from a selfish point of view, I normally say about the Italian football stuff. Soccer for Americans, just like I mentioned in part one. And again, I hope they'll benefit Italian teams like Fiorentina, Frosinone, even the national team, AC Milan, Inter Milan, and other Italian teams. And also to look into the challenges. I normally think of negatives for number 13 as well. Selfish things, Andrew called negatives for point number 13. So the support for Italian football being the selfish stuff, and the negatives being some of the challenges that black people face, like the wealth gap. Again, lack of representation in Fortune 500 companies. How can Fortune 500 companies and whatnot be encouraged, as say, to support more black-owned businesses without being forced to do so? Would they be willing to do so? I wonder. Yeah, what are some of the financial issues that the black community faces, like whether that's acquiring access to funding to set up their own businesses or whatever it might be. Also, I think of things like horror and thrillers. It would be interesting to see what horror movie. What I know there are already some, but what more future horror and thriller films could be made by the black community. I did want to go through my diary, or diaries even, and write notes in terms of plans for the future, but time has eluded me, so I'm going to hopefully get the energy to do so tomorrow. I really hope to plan tomorrow so I can, and they're saying hit the ground running or whatever. I hope to get cracking or whatever tomorrow with many plans and think my inks, as I say, restructure my plans and that kind of thing, to catch up on all the things I didn't quite get to do this month, and do as many as possible. So it feels like I'm coming down with a cold or something all of a sudden. Moving on, number 14. So yeah, seeing how black people could be supported more in terms of finances, running their own businesses, investing together, making their own films, being involved in all sorts of different industries. As I'm a bit too obsessed with alliterations, so I think of things that begin with F, because it's a Friday. As I said before, like the cleaner version for the family-friendly version for Facebook and YouTube. But things that begin with F. But that did remind me actually that in part one, I did mean to say in either point number 4 or 5 about I'd love to know black people's opinions. I talked about like wanting to interview black people. Just reminded myself that I would have probably said in the intro or in point number 11 or 12 or whatever, but it is what it is, as I say. But to interview more black people on their views, including on things like families, the future, and so many other things. Number 15, as I say, I wonder if people could share ideas on, as I say, how more black people can get into Fortune 500 companies, how many could found their own companies and whatnot, how many could be employed and show what they can achieve, and prove to critics and haters, prove them wrong and that kind of thing. And I'd love to interview black people and find either as individuals and cause groups, preferably both, to find their goals and dreams and ambitions and that kind of thing. So asking as many black people as possible their ambitions, and hopefully reading from comments on what black people want to achieve in the future, like financially especially, and general goals and ambitions. And I'd love to know black people's views on them. a range of things, like animal rights, human rights, or whatever it might be, politics, business, or any other sort of areas. So gathering their views. Number 16, what are the best ways to financially empower the black community? I'd love for people to share that information. Number 17, I wonder what black people could contribute and what they could achieve and accomplish with their, whatever the difference is between achieve and accomplish, with their, lots of terms I use interchangeably or whatever, but what could they achieve with their imaginations? Like what films could they create? What video games and online games and websites and things like that could they create? Come to think of it, I'd love to see more black video game creators and game makers generally, whether that's board games, card games, tech games like online games, websites, video games, and all sorts of things. So I think that'd be pretty cool. But yeah, what can they create with their imaginations, and what ideas people share, as I say, to get, as I say, more people to be financially empowered and to build their own Fortune 500 companies and be involved in Fortune 500 companies, become CEOs, MDs, and whatnot of Fortune 500 companies and that kind of thing. Number 18. So yeah, hopefully proving critics and haters and that kind of thing wrong. But yeah, I had all these ideas, and then I got a bit distracted when I was I went to sleep for a bit too long because I was a bit tired, and then I was trying to think of ideas, and then by the time I thought of ideas, I sort of went to sleep for a bit to sort of rest because I wanted to wait till I was ready, and then had something to eat, and then started watching too much YouTube, watching Jack Vale on YouTube. You should pay me commission, but yeah, I was watching someone called Goose Wade on YouTube as well. But I'd love to support more. None of those are black YouTubers, but yeah, I'd love to support more black content creators and that kind of thing. Although I'm not really into prank videos normally, but yeah. Which reminds me though that I'd love to support more black comedians, and I mentioned saying point number 17. What do black people like to do for fun? I suppose that could be different for individuals as well. But I mentioned in part one, like sometimes they could be common grounds, or sometimes they could redefine stereotypes or whatever. But it'd be interesting to find what different black people find to do for fun. Obviously, I'm focused on the black community for Black History Month, and as someone from one community to another, and a wannabe ally, and that kind of thing. But yeah, also comedians and that kind of thing. Being funny, again, think about things starting with F. I was thinking like being fans of Italian football and Celtic, if I'm really drinking that kind of thing. Number 19, as I say, I'd love to see more black people from Africa and America and around the world, maybe even networking together to make or create their own video games, their own websites where they sell games. Maybe they could even provide like cheap or free video games or online games rather, where people go on that website and they can sell advertising space, or even if people want to get to a certain level or play for a certain amount of time, they get the first hour free and then they charge $1 for an hour or whatever they think is the best business model. Maybe they could look into different business models, but I think that could reel people in. Right, get so you get to play games for free, but they could sell advertising space, or they could charge a very small fee, or if you want to get to a certain level again, or if you want to play for a certain amount of time, you could charge. They could charge for that extra, and then also making video games. I often think like if Japan has like the TICAD, the Tokyo International Campaign for African Development or something like that, or Advancement and Development or something, and I think African countries could say, as part of their trade, like could you teach people how to make video games like Nintendo and Sega does and all that kind of thing in Africa, but for Africans to make those video games. And I'd also love for African Americans and black people around the world to make video games and that kind of thing. And number 20, support and empowering people of all ages, and again, both genders and that kind of thing. I hope I didn't forget anything. Anyway, I'm out. Peace out.